It is October 1986, and the film takes place in the Wazong province of South Korea, where a woman is discovered dead near a field. Villagers promptly alert the police, and lead detective Park Do-man arrives at the scene. He looks inside a sewer and finds the victim's decomposing body, indicating she was mistreated before her murder. After examining the area, Do-man heads back to the station to interrogate various suspects. The process drags on as he types out his notes on a typewriter. He takes photographs of all the suspects, while Kwon Kyo-kei, a female detective, organizes them into a book. Do-man believes he can identify the killer through eye contact as he studies their expressions. Suddenly, they receive news of another woman murdered in the same vicinity. Do-man rushes to the scene and discovers a footprint he thinks could be a clue. Unfortunately, before he can examine it closely, a tractor runs over the footprint, obliterating it. Consequently, Do-man returns to the station empty-handed. Months pass, and it seems the case has gone cold. However, one day Do-man hears from his girlfriend that Beck, a mentally challenged boy, had been stalking the second victim before her death. Seizing this clue, Do-man brings Beck in for questioning. He and a colleague then assault the boy in an attempt to extract a confession, but Beck only admits to stalking her. In the next scene, a man approaches a woman on a deserted road, asking for directions, but she is too frightened to respond due to the ongoing murders. The woman attempts to flee but falls. Just then, Do-man arrives and tackles the man, believing he's attacking her. Later, he learns the man is Seo Tae-yoon, a detective from Seoul, who has come to assist with the investigation. On their way to the station, Do-man visits the crime scene, creates a footprint using Beck's shoes, and takes a photo. Back at the station, he tries to force a confession from Beck again, this time showing him the fake shoe prints. However, Beck maintains his innocence. Frustrated, the detectives take him to a field and threaten to bury him alive, leading Beck to reluctantly share details of that day. He reveals the victim was first strangled with her bra and then bound with her stockings. The detectives are shocked, as violent crimes like murder were rare in Korea at the time. They press for more information, but when Beck responds with "I don't know," they start beating him. The following day, Beck is named the killer and is taken for a public lineup before reporters. Fortunately, Tae-yoon intervenes just in time, examining Beck's hands, which are badly scarred, asserting he couldn't have tied the knots around the victims. The villagers realize Beck is being framed and turn against the police in his defense. Next, we meet Tae-yoon's new partner, Shin Dong-chul, who has been assigned to lead their team. Dong-chul promptly begins work, asking the officers if there are any patterns in the murders. However, they remain silent, as they've been too busy framing an innocent man instead of pursuing the actual killer. Thankfully, Tae-yoon points out that all the murders occurred on rainy days and the victims wore red clothing. Dong-chul then inquires if the victims died in the same manner. Tae-yoon's response surprises everyone. He reveals there were 3 victims, one of whom is still missing. In the past week, a third girl dressed in red vanished on a rainy day. Before long, the third body is discovered, confirming Tae-yoon's suspicions. The police recognize the murder pattern and classify the case as a serial killing. Given the similarities, Dong-chul suggests preparing for the next rainy day, as that's when the killer is likely to strike again. One day, while the detectives are managing a student protest, it unexpectedly starts to rain. The team gears up to execute their plan. Female detective Kyo-kei dresses in red and patrols the areas where the murders occurred, hoping to attract the killer. Unfortunately, after hours with no sign of the murderer, they head to a checkpoint, where they encounter 2 schoolgirls. One girl shares a rumor about a supposed killer who hides in the restroom all day and only emerges at night. The detectives find this story amusing and laugh it off.
I don't have many subscribers yet. All alone I put in so much effort, and no one subscribes. Please do subscribe right now because later you will forget. I promise I'll keep working hard to bring you great content that if you hit bell icon my video notification will come as soon as I upload.
Meanwhile, a woman listens to the radio at home when she receives a call asking her to visit. Wearing a red jacket, she decides to change, hoping to avoid attracting the killer's attention. As she leaves her house, she hums a tune to distract herself. But as she reaches the fields, she hears whistling that makes her freeze. Aware of the danger lurking, she tries to escape, but a man suddenly attacks her. The next day, detectives discover her lifeless body, which has been strangled with her own undergarments. Later at the police station, Kweoke suggests she has something significant to share. She presents a list of songs played on the radio, revealing that the same song aired during each murder. Kweoke adds that someone requested the song on rainy days, coinciding with the murder dates. Du-man dismisses it, but Dong-chul and Tae-yoon seek more information. Hoping to find the postcard with the song request, Tae-yoon visits the radio station but is disappointed to learn it was discarded. Meanwhile, Du-man goes to the crime scene with colleague Yoon-ho, placing a talisman around, believing the killer's face will appear on it when it dries. They hear footsteps approaching and hide in the bushes, suspecting it's the murderer, but it turns out to be Tae-yoon arriving for an inspection. Suddenly, they hear another person approaching, and Tae-yoon also hides. After a while, a man appears, pleasuring himself with a woman's lingerie. The detectives are disgusted. As Yoon-ho prepares to move, he accidentally makes noise, alerting the man, who flees. The detectives chase him down and eventually catch him at a construction site. After taking the pervert into custody, they question him harshly. However, he insists he didn't kill anyone, claiming he was simply acting out one of his twisted fantasies. As the investigation progresses, they discover he is a responsible family man. Outside, villagers learn of the arrest and protest for his release, tired of police brutality and discrimination. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Tae-yoon seeks out the girls who told him about the rumored murderer hiding in the public restroom. After speaking with them, he visits the restroom and finds a woman inside. Initially reluctant to open the door, she agrees to help when Tae-yoon reveals his identity. She leads him to the home where the rumors originated, belonging to a terrified survivor of a similar attack. Listening to her story, he realizes she was also assaulted by the serial killer they seek. The only useful detail she provides is that the attacker had very soft hands. Rushing back to the station, he checks the pervert's hands and, upon confirming they're not soft, releases him, much to Du-man's frustration. Just then, Kweoke turns on the radio, and the murderer's song plays. Coincidentally, it starts raining. Realizing a murder is imminent, Kweoke races to the radio station for the postcard. Unfortunately, just an hour later, another dead body is found, this time with a piece of peach lodged in her private area. Meanwhile, Kweoke discovers the postcard at the radio station, linking back to Hyun-gyu, a factory worker. They apprehend him, and the first thing Tae-yoon does is check his hands. To their surprise, they are soft, matching the description. They interrogate him about the murders, noting that the killings began after he moved to the area. Hyun-gyu admits to sending the postcards, but denies any involvement in the murders, stating he won't confess to something he didn't do. This infuriates the detectives, but they can't retaliate due to their already tarnished reputation with the public. When confronted about the peaches, Hyun-gyu becomes agitated and lashes out, leading Yoon-ho to beat him badly, resulting in his own expulsion from the case. With the team back at square one, they decide to revisit all previous clues. Upon reviewing Beck's confession, they realize he only described the incident as a bystander. The detectives then head to Beck's family restaurant, where they find a drunken Yoon-ho in a fight with strangers. Suddenly, Beck shows up and strikes Yoon-ho with a wooden plank, causing a rusty nail to pierce his leg. Realizing what he's done, Beck flees and inadvertently arrives at the site of the first murder. Soon, Du-man and Tae-yoon follow suit, coercing him for information. Beck finally relents, stating he saw the killer's face 3 times. Thinking they're close to solving the case, they show him Hyun-gyu's picture, but Beck starts rambling about a house fire. Suddenly, a furious mob of villagers approaches the detectives, prompting Beck to panic and run chaotically. Tragically, he doesn't notice an oncoming train and is struck dead instantly. The following day, news of the incident spreads, and the police station receives numerous calls. One is from the forensics lab, revealing they found a semen sample. However, the technology in Korea is too outdated to analyze it, necessitating sending it to the US for results. Meanwhile, Do-man receives upsetting news from the hospital. Yoon-ho's leg requires amputation due to tetanus from the rusty nail. Elsewhere, a woman cautiously walks to work, wary of recent news. A schoolgirl passes her by, and despite the tense atmosphere, they don't interact. Suddenly, a man approaches the schoolgirl from behind and abducts her. He ties her up, assaults her, and brutally kills her. The next day, Tae-yoon rushes to the scene, surrounded by reporters. The schoolgirl's body has been discovered, and it appears the serial killer has struck again. Tae-yoon realizes the victim is the same girl who had directed him to the restroom woman. Devastated by his failure to help her, he confronts Hyun-gyu, beating him viciously. He even draws his gun, prepared to kill him, but just then, Do-man arrives with the semen DNA results, revealing Hyun-gyu is innocent. With this revelation, the detectives find themselves back at square one, lacking any leads on the murderer. A few days later, the case is ultimately closed. The film then jumps to 2003, where Do-man enjoys breakfast with his family. Having retired from the force, he has become a successful businessman. One day, he visits the same crime scene, once filled with the bodies of victims. As Do-man gazes at the drain where he discovered the first body, a little girl approaches him. She informs him that another man had been inspecting the drain recently, just like him. The film concludes with a stunned Do-man looking into the camera, realizing the killer may still be at large. The story is based on true events surrounding South Korea's first serial killer,